Greetings everyone, this is Dominick from the Comic Book Report YouTube channel over here doing a guest review for Organicpricedbooks.com. And today we're taking a look at an Image Comics oversized hardcover. That's right, this is Firepower Book 2. The issues in this volume were written by Robert Kirkman and penciled by Chris Samnee. The comics in this volume were published by Image Comics beginning in 2021. As far as what this book collects, it includes Firepower, issues 13 through 30. And yes, this is an oversized hardcover edition with nice glossy print paper stock, a sewn binding, and a total of 464 pages. Honestly, this collection here was probably my most anticipated Image Comics release of the year. I really enjoyed making my way through book 1 of Firepower so many months ago, and I couldn't wait to check out the second volume. Now, this is volume 2 of this 2-volume set. Yeah, that's right, this series has already concluded, so we have everything wrapping up in this book here. On the front cover of this oversized hardcover edition, we have a nice picture of the battle-ready Johnson family. This is a really striking cover, and while we do still have some oranges and reds similar to the first book, this has a much cooler color palette, at least as far as the cover is concerned, for this edition. I could easily look at Samnee's art all day long, and I think what they chose for the cover of this book is pretty well picked. It looks so striking, and I just loved it. Looking at the spine, we do have all the same kind of font choices and descriptors we had with the volume 1, but the color palette has totally changed here as well. In a minute, I'll actually do a comparison shot or kind of a side-by-side of the two book releases, so you can get a feel for what they both look like, should you have them on a bookcase, things like that. But like I said, a cooler color palette here, favoring the whites and blues, and I just really like it. I think it looks really, really good. I honestly just wish this series ran for a bit longer, because I've had a blast with it. The back cover has some descriptions, blurbs about the book, what it contains, pricing information, things like that, along with a great picture of some of our cast of characters lifted again from the collection itself. Yeah, really good stuff here. Not really too much to talk about, but yeah, I really like what we have. I think the presentation is all good. If you liked the volume 1, you have a pretty good shot of enjoying this one as well. And here's a quick look at the sewn binding for this collection, as I mentioned earlier. I think this laid down pretty well. I didn't have too much gutter loss. The one thing I will say about the binding for this edition is it does feel a bit hard or rigid. It's not overly loose as far as a binding goes, so it does, again, feel a bit tough, but everything lays open just fine. And now that we finished our look at the binding, I did want to go ahead and do some comparison shots between book 1 and book 2 for Firepower here. As I said, very similar in style, we just have different color palettes, but I love the look of these books. Like I said, Chris Samnee, the penciler artist on this collection, does a phenomenal job, and I think whoever did the graphic design for these collections should absolutely be commended, because they just look outstanding, and seeing this all in an oversized format, it's just a real treat. As far as the spine goes, like I said, the fonts are all the same, but we do have some notable color differences. Again, instead of being kind of a warmer, kind of filled in colors, we have kind of the brighter, cooler color palettes, the Firepower font itself, like the color changes there as well. But again, you get an idea of what you can expect. Okay, and with that out of the way, we can go ahead and jump into the collection proper. Like the collection before, we have these beautiful kind of fiery end pages, along with some title pages, publication information, things like that. And then we go right into the first issue of this collection, and we have a little bit of a chapter note, I think it's chapter 4. Anyway, they kind of broke down the storyline into these bigger chapters. I presume these are kind of like the trade paperbacks or maybe collected editions, how they broke those down possibly. But yeah, we have chapter headings and breaks in the story's kind of narrative structure, rather than the actual issue breaks. So that's something to be noted. This is something I saw in the first collection as well. So if you're someone that likes to have each issue punctuated with the traditional cover that came with the single issue in the collection, that's not what we have here. We have more of a streaming reading experience that every so often we have these part or chapter breaks, and then we have all of the actual issue covers, the virgin versions of those covers with no text included at the end of the book, which I will try to show you as we get to the extras at the end of this video. But yeah, this picks up right where the book 1 left off, so we have the last, 17, 18 issues of the series. What's really cool about book 1 of Firepower is it comprises a kind of prelude graphic novel and then the first 12 issues of the ongoing series. And you can actually read book 1 as the first kind of major story arc. There's actually a very good resolution at the end of book 1. It cliffhangs just enough, but you basically start this book going into a whole new story arc. And why I like that is that book 1, you do have a sense of closure. They kind of have their first successful mission, battling bad guys, things like that. And then this is sort of the overarching threat and kind of the new, just the turning of the page, the next chapter, the next lap for the story and these characters. So this is really the part 2, and this has so many adventures all its own. We have all of the characters returning that were established in the last volume, which is really fun to see. We center on the Johnson family, with the father of that family, Owen Johnson, being the wielder of the firepower, which is sort of this martial art discipline where he can produce, well, a fireball from his fists. In the first book, we were introduced to this character, his training, and everything that happened there. We were introduced to his family, and we had a lot of cool kind of martial arts, ninja-like conflict and battles. You have just enough kind of mysticism and things like that as well. But all of this, again, was established in the book 1. Book 2 really takes what we had in the first volume and just continues on with the character threads. I would say if book 1 was introducing us to the world and the characters, volume 2 feels like it's more geared towards going deeper with the primary family. We do have some deepening of the supporting cast of characters beyond the main family as well, but I think that there really is an attention to detail on the Johnson family itself, the wife, the kids, and of course Owen. As far as what you can expect story-wise for this book, I really don't want to go into any plot spoilers at this time. This is an overview after all. If you would like to see a full review of this book with some spoilers, you can find it on my channel. If not now, then certainly in the coming weeks. But yeah, for this overview, suffice it to say we have new threats, new adversaries, but a lot of the same great characters, action, and incredible artwork by Chris Samnee. Another thing I will say that's enjoyable about this book is we didn't just have a retread of everything we did in book 1. We go in new directions. The threats they face are different. The action scenes are different. The character just arcs are quite a bit different as well, and I just really like that. I like that we got a little bit more range from this series. My only real complaint is I would love for it to have kept going a bit longer, but I do respect that it didn't overstay its welcome. For me personally, I think this series wrapped up quite well, and it will definitely be a treasured part of my collection. If you're not familiar, Robert Kirkman is the creator of comics like Invincible and The Walking Dead, to name a few, and Chris Samnee is definitely no slouch either. I know I was first familiarized with his art style during the Mark Waid run of Daredevil. He has such a gripping style that's almost a little bit cartoony or animated in a way, but is so just full of life. The color palette in this series as well is just absolutely jaw-dropping. From every panel, from every splash page, from every 2-page spread, Chris Samnee's art throughout this entire run is honestly just completely captivating. And we definitely got to see him flex even more artistic muscles in this volume than I think he even did in book 1, which is saying something because it was already kind of a triumph, at least in my mind. As we make our way to the back of the book, as promised, we do have some extras. We have a lot of cool behind-the-scenes kind of art or outlined or character model kind of stuff, and along the way you actually have a transcribed interview with some of the series creators, which I think was a really nice touch, a great way to get, again, some of that bonus features or added context about this beloved series. After that, we do have the cover art gallery, like I mentioned earlier. We don't have the covers showing up in between the issues in the actual book. They're all saved for the end here, but it is really breathtaking. I love to see all the covers. I like that we still have them included in this book, even if they're not kind of interspersed between the issues. After the cover art gallery, we do have a kind of afterword by the series creators, both Robert Kirkman and Chris Samnee, and this was really fun as well. I love deluxe editions or big omnibuses and things like that that include sort of essays or afterwords from creators. Introductions too were rather nice, but I was really happy to see with this series, even if it was a tad short-lived, that we got this kind of retrospective and kind of epilogue was really nice from the series creators. After that sort of essay or afterword that I've been speaking to, we basically have a little bit of advertisements for some of the other books from Image or from these creators. And honestly, that's pretty much it for the extras and this book. That is Firepower Book 2. I think overall, this series really didn't disappoint me. I really loved it. I am a Robert Kirkman fan, and while this might not be my favorite series he's ever penned, it was certainly up there as a really fun and fairly swift series. If you're a fan of Image Comics, these creators, or kind of kung fu martial arts kind of narratives, this might be up your alley. I certainly had fun with it, and again, it's been a while since I've seen art that is just absolutely this gripping. If you want your own copy, please check out Organicpricedbooks.com, and for a full review like I mentioned earlier, check me out on The Comic Book Report. Thanks everyone, and have a good one.